Hello and welcome. This is part 4 of a 5-part series on the errors of the Roman Catholic Church. I am Aaron Milavec. I have been teaching for 35 years. Now I am retired, and I'm making it my mission to try to bring some light and hope to my church. I am not an enemy of the Catholic Church, far from it. I was born a Catholic. I've lived my entire life as a Catholic. I taught in seminaries for 25 years as a Catholic, and I'm going to die as a Catholic. However, because I am an insider, I know some very important things that I want to share with you. The topic today is going to heaven. Let's begin. Okay. In 2008, actually, a bishop in the Anglican Church published a book, and he talks about hope, surprised by hope. What is so surprising about hope? Well, let me give you some samples. He says almost all Western Christians assume that going to heaven is the salvation they experience when they die. I don't believe that. I believe this was a tragic mistake that the church fell into because they were more interested in the future that Socrates had anticipated for himself than the future that Jesus anticipated for himself. Let's take a look at this. He said, if God and his good creation, everything in the world, the life as we know it, all the glorious and remarkable bodies that we have, brains, if this really is so good, then why is it we have to abandon all these things the moment we are getting the final prize, namely going to heaven? Yes, there is something wrong with this. Let me give you some particular examples. This summer I started reading a book on Do Dogs Go to Heaven? By a Franciscan, and he would say that, well, they don't have an immortal soul. That's true, but actually God promised to actually do everything he can to make it really the most precious experience in an ongoing way in heaven with him. And for young children who get attached to their pet animals, their pet dogs, don't they go to heaven? There must be something like going to heaven for those dogs. I wrote back to him, I said, this is pure foolishness. I would never surrender any of my dogs, take a look at him here, to be cooped up in paradise, namely, that they're, what can you say? There are no streams, there are no waters, there are no there are no cats to chase. It would be an absolute boredom for a dog to be in heaven. Another example. About a month ago, a guest of my wife, she's Italian, by the way, they came here and spent a week, and Giovanni, he makes focaccia. Here it is. I made this now the third time. I was curious on how the Italians make their breads, and so I asked Giovanni, show me what you do. Well, meanwhile, I looked at the internet, and Every single Italian has their own recipe for making focaccia. So there is no one single recipe. So I'm using Giovanna's method. I actually wrote it all down so that I could actually keep a record of it. And Elena, my wife, said, Aaron, you have finally reached the peak. This is exactly the focaccia that I love the best. You've made it. But that was on the third try. Now, is there going to be any experience like that for me in heaven? Will I be experimenting? What's there to experiment with? Oh, I'm a very curious guy. I like to experiment with new recipes, for one thing, new experiences with my dogs. Will any of this take place in heaven? No. Very frankly, it will not. Because in heaven, according to the official doctrine, only the soul goes to heaven. The body remains behind, rotting in the grave. Well, useless. But guess what? This body is very, very useful for me. I can touch things, I can move things, I can experiment with things. Not only touch, but the feel of warmth and the pleasure of a great massage. Oh boy, smell. I like to smell fresh bread, the sunset, flowers. Will that be in heaven? No, sorry. Therefore, I have become an enemy of heaven, not only because it's Socrates saying it and not Jesus, but because it is bound to be a disappointment, a very serious disappointment. And the normal claptrap that one hears is that you'll never be disappointed in heaven. It gives everything you wish for. Well, it doesn't. It doesn't give everything you wish for. The things that I really love. I'm a canoeer, for instance. I've canoed maybe 30 different waterways. I immensely enjoy it. I build a campfire. I stay overnight. Oh, it's wonderful. Will that take place in heaven? No way. No way. The beatific vision, seeing what God sees. I mean, that may be wonderful for 1 or 2 days, but after 1 or 2 weeks, that becomes very boring. There's nothing to do with God's ideas. They're fixed. They're wonderful. Hallelujah. But let's not forget that I'm a fellow who actually is an experimental baker and a canoeer. And I want a future that includes these things. Any hope for me? N.T. Wright, Bishop N.T. Wright says, yes, there is hope for you, because the actual future of the Christian church is not a soulless or a soul being whooped up into heaven, but actually it's God coming to earth to live with us. Let's explore that. Let's explore that. Okay. First of all, let's look at the Lord's Prayer. How does it go? Our Father, who are in heaven. Okay. Our Father, I'm a child of God, yes, I love that. Who are in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Your kingdom come. Your kingdom come from where you are now in heaven to earth, to be with us. This puts a new importance on the incarnation, doesn't it? It's a God coming to live with his people. Yes. And this is what the hope of the Christian church is. And it begins actually in Easter. Jesus was brutally killed, but God raised him to life on Easter morning, body and soul. But actually, no such thing as body and soul, as a breathing human being. And what was God going to do? Go fishing, meet with your friends, all of these things happen for 40 days, and then Jesus gets taken up into heaven. Does that mean all of us are going to follow him to heaven? No way. According to the Jewish perspective that was dominant at that time, only a few people get to heaven. Jesus and, okay, can't think of it. But guess what? Jesus was taken to heaven in order that God could prepare him to return to earth when he establishes his kingdom. So that's what the prayer says. Thy kingdom come on earth. Thy will be done on earth as it is now done in heaven. Let it be done on earth. And this is actually not a brand new invention by Jesus, not by a long shot. As a matter of fact, Joachim Jeremias, a Lutheran scholar from Germany, he did a very close study of the prayer life at the time of Jesus, and he concluded that the kingdom prayer of Jesus was a direct borrowing from the Kaddish, namely the prayers at the end of the synagogue service. Here's what the Jews said: exalted and hallowed be his great name. Hallowed be your name. In the world which he created according to his will, may he establish his kingdom in your lifetime. Whoa, notice that. In this creation that God has made, that's the same place where the kingdom is going to show up. And the prayer then is, may he establish his kingdom in your lifetime. And this, of course, has been the faith of Jews from the time of Jesus all the way down to the present day. So this is something that we share with the Jewish people, an anticipation that God is going to return to earth to establish his kingdom and to live with us permanently. End of story. Okay, let's go now and look at the longest narration of the future of the world, the end times, namely the book of Revelation. This is supposedly written by the Apostle John when he was actually exiled in Patmos, and an angel visited him, Gabriel, and said, write all this down, and then he would dictate to him. Now, near the end of the book, we get to the really juicy part. Here now, there's going to be two resurrections. Yes, not one, but two. The first resurrection is the resurrection of all the martyrs, both the Christian martyrs and the Jewish martyrs. I kind of like that because it has the Jews and the Christians together. And then the Messiah is going to actually have the 1,000-year reign, the Messianic reign. Then, at the end of that, there's going to be another resurrection, the resurrection of everyone else. Those who are buried in the ground, those who are buried in the sea. And those who actually are, whose names are written in the book of life, they are going to be the ones who are going to participate in what God has in store for them. What is it? Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and they were seen no more. And I saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "See, the home of God is among mortals. He will dwell with them as their God. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more." Okay, what a grandiose understanding. And notice that this is not talking about the return of Jesus now. This is the coming of the Father of all, the creator of heaven and earth. God himself is going to abandon heaven in order to live on earth with his children. Wow, what a story that is. And that's not a story that Christians are familiar with. They're thinking of going to heaven. No way. Second rate, very disappointing. The real stuff is actually in the book of Revelation, where God comes among us and wipes away all our tears. This is kind of a therapeutic moment, and it makes me proud and happy to see that my God is not so distant and so awesome as not to get involved with human life as it is. And as it is includes a lot of suffering and disappointment. And God will actually wipe away all these tears because the good times are going to roll. Get ready. And that's exactly what N.T. Wright is talking about. He says, all of you engineers, all of you ecological people, there's a lot of work to be done on the face of the earth. Many things to be constructed and be thought of. But I'm also thinking about the Italian bread that I was able to make. And who knows? There will be other breads that I'm going to want to make. And same thing for my dogs. My dogs, oh gosh, where's my Foxina? There she is. She's way back in the back. You know what? This poor dog was actually locked in a small cage without any water, without any food, in a police station. And she was calling out frantically for 1 day and 2 nights. And finally I went over in order to listen to her cry, and I saw what the police had done to her. And I released her, and she came bounding into my arms. Bounding into my arms. Yes. And what Foxina likes best is to chase cats. Now, not to injure them, but just to chase them up trees. And she did that almost on a daily basis back in Shanghai when I was living there. Okay, so is there going to be a good place for my Foxina in the new heavens and the new earth? You bet there is. You bet there is. And once again, this is a whole new vision that has actually been largely overlooked, but actually it's been supplanted by the Socratic idea that only our souls have a future, our bodies, nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Not very promising. Okay, back to Jesus. In a small parish church in Germany, Pinchas Lapid, a Jewish rabbi, and a famous German theologian Jürgen Moltmann gathered together in order to talk about the kingdom of God. Oh yes, our topic. And Pinchas Lapide has some very important things to say to the audience. He says, I believe that the Christ event leads to a way of salvation which God has opened up in order to make room for Gentiles in the Jewish world. And he calls the mission of Jesus, and of course the mission of his church, to be divinely ordained. He speaks of Jesus as a Son of God, with a divine mission given to him by God, bringing the Gentiles into the kingdom that has been promised to the Jews. He's called this a messianic movement. So he speaks to my Christian background, and he sees it as a calling and an anointing in order to bring in the Gentiles. He says one other thing, however, that's extremely important. He says there had to be a small Jewish yes to Jesus, but an overwhelming Jewish no to Jesus. Why? Because if there was no yes whatsoever to Jesus, he would have just been lost in history. Nothing would have happened, and we wouldn't even know anything about him today. However, there could not be an overwhelming acceptance of Jesus. If there were an overwhelming acceptance of Jesus among the Jews, then there would be no impulse in order to bring in the Gentiles. And so Pinchas Lapide says that the rejection of Jesus by the Jewish people is divinely foreseen and divinely authorized. And this, of course, is exactly the way that Paul treats it in his in his letter to the Romans. Yes, that actually God authorized this hardness of heart in order that there would be a time and a place for the Gentiles to enter into the church. What do you think about that, huh? Okay. Well, I think we're going to stop here. The overall note is that I stand with the bishop, who, by the way, is an expert in Pauline theology. He's written about 15 books so far. I stand with him, and I'm proud to acknowledge that he has the right message at the right time in the right place. My church does not. My church is still peddling going to heaven, the beatific vision, being with God for eternity. No way, Jose. No way. Okay. This is going to be a bitter pill to swallow for many Catholics, because all their life they have been taught heaven is the goal. The Catechism taught me, remember? Why did God make you? God made me to know him, to love him, to serve him, and to be forever happy with him in heaven. Wrong. 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 So that's the fourth major mistake of the Catholic Church. Okay, I am keenly aware that my message has caused great distress for some, and for others, they want to know more in order to actually begin to take action within their local church. I have prepared a study guide that actually takes the lesson that you just heard and actually details all of my sources and the complete logic and biblical tradition that I am following. This will provide you from the sources that you need. I have prepared a link at the bottom of this page, which will actually take you there and give you an opportunity not only to study this, but actually to enter into dialogue with other people who are concerned about this issue. Thank you very much. God bless you.